Scholars, this video is to review how to multiply mixed numbers by whole numbers and fractions. So we're going to start with this first problem that says Kelly is using 1/3 cup of flour. So let's underline that piece of information. We know she has 1/3 cup of flour, and now she's making 3 3/4 loaves of bread. So the first thing we need is to change any mixed numbers we have into fractions. So we start out with this mixed number here, which is 3 3/4. So we're going to turn it into an improper fraction, 3 3/4. So we need to multiply our denominator by our whole number. So that'd be 4 times 3, and it's going to give us 12. Next, we need to add our numerator to that number that we just found. So 12 plus 3 is going to give us 15. Now we can rewrite our fraction with that new numerator, which is 15/4. So now we can take our two fractions, so our new one, 15/4, and we're going to multiply it by 1/3. And that's going to give us 15 times 1 is going to give us 15. And 4 times 3 is going to give us 12. Now we need to check and see if we need to convert any improper fractions to mixed numbers. So I know this is an improper fraction because our numerator is larger. So now I'm going to actually write this as a division number sentence. So we know that this can be written as 15 divided by 12. I'm going to put this in my standard algorithm. So the 15 goes on the inside, the 12 goes on the outside. And I want to think, how many times can 12 go into 15 without going over? So I'm going to write some facts off to the side to see if that'll help me. So 12 times 1 equals 12. That's pretty close, but let's try one more to see if it goes over or not. So we have 12 times 2, that's going to give us 24. And it looks like that one goes over, so that one's not going to work. We can cross it out. So 1 time, and 1 times 12 is 12. Now we're going to find our remainder. Once we have our remainder, we can stop. So our difference is 3. Our remainder is 3. Now we need to write this mixed number. So when you think about how many whole times did it go in to 15, so we know it was 1 whole time, so that's going to be our whole number, and then our fraction is going to be our remainder over our original denominator. It's not going to change, so that's going to be 3/12. The last thing we can do is we can go back, so let me insert, so I'm going to have 1 and 3/4. 3/12. And I'm going to take this 3/12 and see if I can reduce it. So I'm just going to bring it down. I need to leave that 1. I'm not going to do anything with it at this point. So I need to figure out what can go into 3 and 12. What's a number that can divide evenly into them? Well, I know that 3 can go into itself. And I also know that 3 can go into 12. So I'm going to divide 3 divided by 3, which gives me 1. And 12 divided by 3, which gives me 4. So I can actually simplify this number 3/12 to be 1/4. So we know this can also be 1 and 3/12. So I'm going to skip back and see what was my unit here. My unit here was how many cups of flour will she need? Oops. This is 1 and 1/4. And we know that's cups of flour. Later on this week, we're going to do a heavy review of this simplifying. So if at this point you put 1 and 3/12 cups of flour, that's okay as well, because those are equal fractions or equivalent fractions. Now let's move on to our second problem in round 1. This one is no fancy word problem, so we know that we have to multiply 2 and 1/7 times 4/5 because it says to find the product, which means to multiply. So that's how I knew to multiply. Now I'm going to turn any mixed numbers like I have here into improper fractions so that I can multiply. So let me write this 2 and 1 over 7 off to the side. I'm going to multiply my denominator by my whole number. So that's going to give me 7 times 2, which equals 14. And I'm going to add my numerator, which is 1. That's going to come from right here. And that'll give me 15. So my new number is going to be 15 over 7. Now I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to take 15 over 7, that's the new fraction I found, and multiply it by 4 over 5. So I'll multiply my top times my top. 15 times 4, I don't know that fact off my head, so I'm just going to write it off to the side. So 4 times 5, I know that. That's going to be 20, so I'm going to drop my 0 and pop my 2. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. That's going to give me 60 as my numerator. And then 7 times 5 is going to give me 35. That's a fact that I do know. Now I'm going to turn this improper fraction. I know it's improper because if 60 is larger than that 35. And I'm going to convert it to a mixed number. So first we converted to an improper fraction, and now we need to convert it back to a mixed number. So I'm going to write my division number, and it's 60 divided by 35. And then I'm going to put my 60 on the inside, my 35 on the outside. I want to think, how many times will 35 go into 60 without going over? I know that's 1, because I can try 35 times 2, and that's going to give me 70, which is too much. So I'm going to do 1 times 35 is 35 and subtract. I know I can't subtract 0 and 5, so I need to borrow and make this 10. This is going to come from my 6, which will become a 5. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 5 minus 3 is 2. So that means my remainder is 25. I have one whole, so that's going to be my whole number. And then my fraction is going to be 25 over 35. I can try to simplify this number, this fraction. So I'm going to bring down this 1. And I know 25 and 35 have a 5 in common because they both end in 5. We can use our divisibility rules for that. We know that 5, if there's a 5 on the end, it's divisible by 5. So that's going to be 5 on the top and 7 on the bottom. Now I need to think, is there anything that can go into 5 and 7? Anything over 1 that can go into 5 and 7? And I think I just have 1. So I can leave that as 5 over 7. So this would be my simplest form. These two are equivalent fractions, so they would both be good answers at this point. Now to move on to the next one, we have one more example. So this one is another word problem. It says Kevin made some soup and he completely filled 3 1/4 bowls. Each had exactly 2 cups of soup, and we want to know how much soup did he make. So I'm going to take this mixed number because I know that's a mixed number. I'm already going to have to turn it into an improper fraction. So I'm going to write 3 1/4. And I'm going to multiply that denominator times my whole number, which is going to be 4 times 3, or 3 times 4, which is 12. And then add that 12 to my numerator, which is 1. That's going to come from up here. So I knew my new numerator is 13. So I'm going to hit 13 over 4. Now I need to multiply. So I'm going to take my new fraction, 13 over 4, and multiply it by this number 2. But at this point, we have a fraction, we have a whole number, so we need to fix that. We can change this into a fraction by putting a 1 under it, because we know 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2 1s, or we can write 2 divided by 1 if we're a little confused and know that 2 divided by 1 is 2. That number is going to be the same here. Now I'll multiply across the top. 13 times 2 is 26, and 4 times 1 is 4. I look back and now I see, wow, I have a improper fraction. So I need to fix that improper fraction. So I'm going to convert it back to a mixed number. So I'm going to abbreviate that MN. So I can rewrite this as 26 divided by 4. And then to put in that in the algorithm, the 26 goes on the inside and the 4 goes on the outside. Now I need to think, how many times will 4 go into 26 without going over? I know we have some facts that are pretty close, so let's try 4 times 5, 4 times 6, and 4 times 7. I know those are all going to get me pretty close, and I want to figure out which one's closest without going over. So I have 4 times 5 is 20. 20 is pretty close to 26, but let's go up one more. 4 times 6 is 24. Getting a little bit closer. Let's try one more. 4 times 7 is 28. So it looks like we go over here, so this one's not going to work, and this one also won't work because it's too low. So let's use the 6. 6 times 4 is 24, and we can subtract to give me a remainder of 2. Again, we're going to have to use this remainder as part of our fraction, so we don't need to go any further and find a decimal. So it can go into it 6 whole times. So that's our whole number in our mixed number. And then we have 2 as our remainder over 4, which is my original denominator. I'm going to check my fraction, see if I can reduce it. It looks like I probably can because I have both even numbers. So I'm going to have 6. Let me erase this. So I'm going to have 6 and 2/4. So I know that at least 2 can go into each of them because they're even. And that's going to give me 6, and 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So it looks like this is going to be the simplest form because 1 is only going to have one that will go into it evenly. Same with 2. So now I need to look back and find my unit. So it says, how much soup did he make? So we multiplied the bowls by the cups. So it looks like our unit is cups of soup. So I'm going to put cups. And I can box this in because that's my final answer. So it's 6.5 cups of soup.